No, because I need to have it not.
No, but like.
Okay. So essentially, if there's 1, 2, 3, 4 of us, that works out, right? Just everyone take one of these. So just grab one. One of the districts and one of the weights. Right, so this is basically what your character is, okay? So I'll just grab a seat.
One of the weights.
Yeah, so you should have 3 weights.
Yeah.
Okay, so here, right. So basically it's like a queue system, so there'll be a line of people throughout the day. Now can I just get you to grab one of these map events? So this is like a random event that would happen within the game. I just flip it over and it'll tell you.
All of us?
No, sorry, just him.
him.
So he can see something, like basically the type of news that you get from the overseers of the world. So from that might help you decide things. So we'll just do it in order. So let's say this person comes up to your stand, so just you flip all your data so you can see it.
I'm low importance, I'm from the Western District, and I'm normal weight.
So essentially he would hand you his ration paper booklet. And then you would be able to determine from the tools in your office that you'd have a measuring system that would, you'd have like a scales that would tell you what his weight is. You'd be able to tell by his clothes how good he is, and it, like statistics would say that he's from the West.
So it's kind of like Papers, Please.
Yeah, essentially.
I think I heard you guys talking about that at one point.
Yeah, so essentially it's your choice at this point, like, whoa, okay, what do you do now that you've got his details? He also be like saying stuff, like he might be a father of 4.
I'm a father of 10, actually. They're very productive.
Not that ration will go far. But it's like you don't want to like turn someone away because like there's a chance that whoever comes like that afterwards will be like.
So there'll be different cycles as well. So although it probably won't be done for the game jam, it's in our future aspirations, that the data will always be recorded. So the same people will come back, and maybe
their status changes, or their conditions change.
So maybe the skinny person died off because you didn't give them enough food, and they were now they were not able to survive. Maybe the low importance people started dying off because keeping the high importance people up, but the low importance people do the farming, things like that. So you would get less food or more food, whatever.
So what if I gave no one rations? Will I then get more rations for the next?
Carry over to the next day, but then no one would have the rations, and no one would have food for the next cycle. Let's say, think of the rations as basically there are maybe a month's supply of foods that are supplied with the government, and it's every cycle this is happening, so they have to fend for themselves essentially.
Just a thought that triggers this. I'm just thinking about this. There are situations like this that already exist, right? In like emergency food supply for migrants in migrant camps or whatever, right? And what I'm thinking is it would be really interesting to turn the Papers, Please idea on its head. This is all the same, so the game is the same, but the difference is when you go home, you don't have to then spend your money to deal with your own starving family like in Papers, Please. You're actually rich.
Yeah.
Maybe that's an interesting idea, because I'm just trying to think from a perspective of what you're trying to say with the game, right? So I understand that part of the game is, look, we're now in a situation where nobody has enough food, etc., and it's just rations. But if you think about a realistic scenario like that, having a totalitarian kind of world government supplying the rations is not super likely to happen, right? There will be some more, you will be in a situation where maybe part of the world is suffering and undernourished, and those people may be helped by the rich giving some money for rations, etc., etc.
Yeah.
And the rest is just living, fairly okay lives, and there's money, and there's a normal economy. So maybe where in Papers, Please, you're kind of on the side of these people, where you're dealing with the border control, and then you're having to feed yourself. So you're kind of the person who has to distribute the rations among your family. In this case, it could be the other way around, where you're not actually being on the side of the player. You're not actually being penalized or being punished for dealing with this in a wrong way at all. And things on your side are really wealthy, and maybe you can actually, another part of the game could be to try to influence all these wealthy donors to give more, and then to increase your rations, and then you've got another part of the game where you're dealing with all these wealthy donors and you're trying to work through their bureaucracies to get money so you can give it, to turn it into food, and of course there's a economic problem with the idea of food rations for people in general, right? Because what happens is that people become dependent on it. You see this in Northeast Africa, for instance, that people are kind of getting used to getting these rations, and they're not triggered to grow their own crops or whatever in a good way, because they just get stuff every year. Not to say that, these people are starving, right? So it's really a thing, but of course, giving aid, like there's a really cool book called Dead Aid, which is about how development aid is really problematic, and it's destroying societies and places that the money is going to, because it all goes to the elite, etc., etc. So if you build something like that in the game, you basically have the same game, so you don't have to change this. But if you build on the back end something that relates to these other people that are out there who are wealthy, etc., and also the damage maybe that you're doing by the rationing system in general to people, that's kind of you're able to say more.
Positives and negatives.
Yeah, but you're also tackling inequality, which in this case you are also tackling inequality. But this idea that everybody is like this in this future world is maybe a bit unrealistic. There may be a certain group of people who have to deal with this ration thing, and then everybody else, is just kind of doing fine. So what do you guys think of that idea?
Yeah, no, I think that's actually
Yeah.
it'd definitely be on the back end of aspiration of those, but it's so we're basically nail this gameplay first.
Yeah.
We've got this function in that sort of like goal for the jam. So
Yeah.
we've got I've got a document that I'm writing and keeping updated of how we would continue the project
Yeah.
to then add more on top of that, while keeping it able to work with the gameplay that we've got. So it's definitely something that I'm getting on the list.
Yeah. But I think that indeed it doesn't. It shouldn't. That other part shouldn't be the main part of the game. Just like in Paper Please, it's only the end of the day, right? You have a little prompt with your resources. So it shouldn't be a main part of the game. But in that way, you can very easily add a completely different dimension to the game, which makes it much more realistic and much more